everyone, this is Polar Bear Cub again from Advanced Maneuvers. So right now I am here with Doug Seacat, the man, the myth, the legend, the one who knows everything about Iron Kingdoms right in his brain. And we actually have a couple minutes to be able to talk to him. So first off, thank you so much.
Yeah, glad to be here.
All right, so what got you into writing at the beginning? So whenever you first started, what was kind of the thing that really started you on your path of writing?
I've been writing pretty much since I was a little kid. I think I got a typewriter when I was like 8 years old and started writing hack fantasy novels and, just kind of went into creative writing and I was always interested in writing. But it wasn't until pretty much Privateer Press was kind of getting off the ground that I had a chance to, do something with it that wasn't just creating my own material. So.
Okay, cool. So, well then, once you started writing, what kind of got you into working with Privateer Press, and what was that thing that got you there?
Well, in the time when I started, it was right at the beginning when the Witchfire trilogy was just coming out. One of my good friends was writing the Witchfire trilogy. His college buddy, Matthew Starosik, he's the main writer for the Witchfire trilogy. I also had met Matt Wilson, and so basically they knew that I could write a lot of material. They were going to be working on the source book, and so they approached me with the idea. They're like, we're going to do this like 200-page source book in maybe about a year. You think you could handle that? And I'm like, sure, yeah, I could probably do that. And of course, everything escalated from there. When I was working with Matt on the source book, he basically kind of gave me the liberty to write in as much detail as I wanted about the setting. And so the source book grew and grew, and we just had more and more to say, and so that's how we eventually wound up with two 400-page books instead of the one 200-page book for our initial setting books.
That's a lot of pages.
A lot of pages. And of course, we've generated thousands and thousands of pages since then. So, but I worked kind of freelance for a long time on most of the RPG stuff, working on the Monsternomicon, the first one. And eventually, I think it was right after No Quarter Magazine had started and Hordes was just about to be a thing. Matt Wilson brought me in and was like, we finally think we have enough to keep somebody busy for a full-time staff writer. Would you be interested? And I was like, yes, of course. Didn't ask how much it was going to pay. Yes, please allow me to write for you full-time. And so from that point on, I've been working full-time, just writing as much as I can.
Wow, that's awesome. So with all of that, thought into the story and stuff like that, how kind of long in advance, how far in advance do you really plan out that story for the future books?
We're always planning pretty far in advance. Now, the way that it works is we have a sort of a larger meta story that we might know years out, but usually there's not a lot of details. It's just sort of like we know that this kind of a conflict is going to happen in general terms. And then what happens is as we're coming up on each book, we start to plan out how the individual characters will play into it and plot out all the details. And then there's small little details that don't come out until you're actually writing it. So basically it's sort of like you're filling in the details from high to low. So we have a sort of a big plan that goes very far, and there's certain plot elements that we know long in advance, but then there's other stuff that definitely comes up in the course of just creating the stories. So.
All right. We've seen like recently Bradicus come out as a new warlock, and he's kind of been in the story for a while. Is there any other characters you've kind of seen in the story that you're hoping at some point maybe become a character, or you kind of in some point they might go into the story a little bit more?
Well, yeah, what I try to do in general is create as many interesting characters as we can, try to kind of bring the world to life. I think it's really important to show more than just the characters that we see in the miniature game. And so then what'll happen is some of those will sometimes take root with the game designers, and they're like, I have an idea that I think will really work for this particular character. Let's bring them into the game. There's other characters that we like a lot, but that might seem like they might not be distinct enough to be, a new warlock, a new warcaster. As far as specific characters go, it's kind of hard to say. Like, I don't know if we would ever do this just because of his position, but like the Primarch of the Church of Morrow is one that I would love to see on the tabletop. We probably never will. He's sort of a background figure, but we've gotten more of those background figures into the game than I initially expected. There's been a few that have been particularly fun for me, like General Slaughterborn is one that we created really early in the RPG as just this. I wanted to have a living general of Crix, and in the fiction, and so we got him into Apotheosis, but he still wasn't a model, for years until after that. So it's always kind of fun to sort of set those little seeds in motion and see which ones will turn into an actual playable model. But that's entirely up to like Jason Souls and DC and Matt Wilson, whether they're going to take one of those characters and kind of bring them into the game.
Thank you very, very much for coming and meeting with us today, and hope to see you around the con more.
Definitely. All right, have a good show.
All right, thank you.